how does that help people know things about science? Like I know, when COVID was really raging, people kept talking about how this older movie from, I think, the 90s, Outbreak, suddenly became really popular to watch again, right? And that many of the scientists were angry because in Outbreak, this sort of plague-like thing starts and then it just spreads immediately. Like people are like getting sick and dying within, a couple of hours, and the cure is the same way. And it just didn't really have anything to do with the way diseases really spread. But like it gets into popular imagination. These are the things that we can see. Where a science paper, like it's really hard for me to see how disease spreads by reading those numbers, right? Like if I'm just sort of an average person. So yeah, I mean, I think all I'm really doing is agreeing with what you've said, what you sort of implied in your question, that there is something that I think a film can capture and get into our imagination in a sort of permanent way, that is not reality and yet can sort of become our reality. Yeah. Which leads me to sort of think about the way in which we have this way of projecting sort of these negative dystopian scientific futures that I think get into our imagination. As you mentioned, right, this idea that rarely do we make a film about AI where anything good happens, right? I mean, my earliest introduction to AI was probably the film Terminator, right, where these like robots in the future take over and come back to kill all of humanity or whatever it is that they do, right? There's lots of killing in that movie. And then there's a few others where like the robot is always taking over, and the human who is responsible for making that robot is generally a problem, has never taken responsibility for his or her creation. So that almost becomes, it sort of feels like an inevitable future because we've told that story so many times.